Obviously, the caffeine has hit me.
You saw him change like halfway through that. He was ready to go.
Yeah, Hulkamania running wild. That's right. Yeah. But I get really excited about this stuff because it's like I like to nerd out on all this because it's everything. It's NFTs, it's DeFi, but it's GameFi. But you'd be surprised. But every person and we've said this in courses before, right? In the crypto mindset courses, we have had guys who are GameFi only last cycle, NFT only,
right? Meme
coin only, more balanced portfolio only. Everyone who was that concentrated and was focused in won.
Right.
Everybody won.
And then it's a matter of during the downtime, can you diversify into other skill sets?
Correct. Yeah, because cycle changes. But when let's just say you are focused,
but it does come back too.
But that's where the money's at. Honestly, if you get all the suburban moms, you're paid for a life.
No,
shout out Martha Stewart.
I think that was the main demographic that Fortnite targeted for a while. You could
suburban moms.
Yeah, they went for the moms. Because then they'd show this cool game, and the mom's like, "Okay, I'll put that on my kid so that they don't bother me anymore." It was like their babysitter.
Right.
That's it was a genius. At least I'm pretty sure it was Fortnite. It was definitely one of those kids games. Maybe it was Roblox. It might have actually been Roblox.
It was Roblox probably. Yeah. What's going on, you guys? We're back. I think we found a caveman.
Oh shoot! Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Caveman. I'm the content manager for Polemos.
So you're content manager for Polemos.
Yeah.
How long have you been there?
Yeah, last two and a half years almost.
Oh wow.
Yeah, been for a while. I don't know. Came in shortly after they did a good raise, and I was actually hired on as a esports manager. Was really excited to lead our team there. Back then, you heard all these tournaments of like 40 million. Next year, it's coming out in 2023. Everyone was getting so pumped for the early crypto GameFi players. But obviously, a lot of those games were going to be not polished. They weren't good games to begin with, or they didn't make it, or they were taking forever to come out for development.
And did you come in with Polemos because you were interested in crypto, or because you've been a big gamer, because you're like, hey, this is like a startup that I can like put a lot of marketing skill into, or like what was the kind of angle that you came in with?
So I started off. Originally, I made a good amount of money off of Tesla options, and so I was like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm done. I sold them right at the 2021 when it was peaking out. Also, similar time when crypto was. And I'm like, what is cryptocurrency? Learning about that a little bit.
What year was this?
2021.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
I'm a little bit younger in the crypto side.
I was asking you about John McAfee the other day, and you're like, "Who's John McAfee?" I'm like,
"No idea."
Sacrilege.
No, I mean, I actually heard about it back in like 2013. I had a roommate who actually bought a little mining rig for Bitcoin, and he had it in our dorm. And I'm like, "What are you mining, dude?" And so like that was my first learning, but I didn't buy it. I was like Amazon, Tesla, maxing out on those. So rode those for several years, but then I heard about Axie Infinity, actually.
Really? So, those Axies? Okay.
Axie, I was like, okay, I'm a gamer. So I'm also, from the gaming side, I loved Teamfight Tactics, League of Legends. I got up to Challenger and Masters in those respective games. Went from StarCraft, Halo. Like, I try to play top 1% in all those games. I love competition. And so I heard Axie was out. And you can make money just playing a game. I'm like, all right, I'm done here. Let's go play some Axie Infinity. And then I realized you had to pay $1,000 just to get 3 of these little creatures to join in. I was like, what is this? But quickly kind of was realizing that game didn't seem sustainable, and I pulled out. I actually sold it. I was just watching it, and at the same time, you had the big trailers from Illuvium and Star Atlas coming out, and I'm like, okay, those are the good games. Let's start getting involved in those communities early, so I can start building something. And what I wanted to do was build an ultimate gaming guild that would be the most competitive. We would win every tournament that ever came out in those games, and that's what we did for Illuvium. We quickly rose 300 players, literally all passed like Masters or Challengers and other games that had the same idea. And what we did is we used all of our brain power to work together so that we could like really know how to win this. And any of those early like Private Beta 1, Private Beta 2 tournaments, we would steamroll like almost all of them. And it was almost everyone from our guild that would be taking that win. So it felt really good to have a good presence there. And I was then reaching out to different investment groups to like get a small seed running. seed funding for what we'd be doing on analytics and different like MOBA Fire, if you're familiar with League of Legends.
Right.
Just all this different like third-party software to give you an advantage. Then we'd give coaching, other courses like what you guys are doing in TA, and that's what we wanted to do. And I actually got some offers. The conditions were bad, and honestly, I didn't have a really good amount of experience in the field, so I was like, all right, I don't know if I should take this. And then Polemos actually reached out saying, hey, we love what you're building. Can you bring some of your players over? Let's start the esports side here. And then that's what I did. And then we scaled it up. We had like, I don't know, 20 people under me that were all like playing in different games.
Yeah.
And so we were like, we would win every tournament in any of the games. But it was like small prize pools, a couple $1,000s here or there. So we decided to stop doing that. We stopped paying like a little bit. It was really small stipends to a lot of these players. But and then we decided to just move me to content because I was also someone who was decent on the camera. I'm still learning. That's definitely something that, really just starting that process for like the last 3 years or so. But yeah, that's basically.
Well, what kind of excited you about the space? Because like a lot of people as gamers come in or they see crypto, they see Axie Infinity, like, man, these things are way overvalued. What the hell's even going on here? These people are greedy as hell. I don't like that, right? What was different for you as a gamer that made you like, no, this is the freaking future. I want to be a part of this.
Exactly. Yeah. And Miguel and I we talked about this at a fireside chat back at Permissionless, and that was there's two major reasons why I think people want to play a crypto game. One is that financial incentive. Like they're thinking that they can make a lot of money playing it. But coming as a gamer, I love the idea of implementing these NFTs and making the game more real. It makes all of the assets feel tangible, and that you're actually able to like go out there, and if you're running around with this super rare rifle, and like if you get dropped, you lost it. It's over. That's gone. Someone else picks it up, and it just makes it feel like really intense. You sit up in your chair, and you're like more snapped in. And
skin in the game. Yeah.
And like that was something I could see across.
It's kind of similar to sports betting, right? Like a lot of people are like, hey, I like watching sports. I like doing this, but like when I have something on the line here for this game, all of a sudden, I really hate that quarterback, or it's kind of similar to that. I think just people love betting.
Yeah. No, 100%. And then if you look back to the financial side of it, you can look at CSGO as like the perfect example that there is a huge demand for wanting to have a secondary marketplace for assets. And if we could have that tokenized with ownership, that is a huge value add. And I think eventually all games will move towards that direction. And it's just a matter of how do they incorporate the technology without it being so easily seen by the traditional gamers coming in.
Right.
And I think that's what Off the Grid, I think you guys were mentioning that in a different one. They are doing really well of like keeping their audiences separate, so much so that some of the traditional players are literally saying, oh, this isn't really that much of a crypto game. But reality, it has more sales volume than like many of the other games that have been in the ecosystem for a while. At least I think we'd have to check me on that quote, but I think it's looking pretty good so far.
And in terms of, I guess, your role with the company and kind of the stuff you're doing, you said like, you kind of have to learn some new stuff in terms of, content and getting used to the camera and all that stuff. Like, what do you think kind of your background before you came into this space or before you came into crypto kind of set you up for kind of killing it here and then growing in this space?
Yeah, well, first off, let's talk about you guys in this amazing setup you guys have here. Like, this is the dream for most content creators to have this incredible studio. Like, I walked in here and I'm like, this is what I want later on. So congrats to both of you. That's so cool.
Hey, thank you.
And I hope I can get there eventually. Polemos we're gonna grow and we're gonna have a cool studio. It's gonna be badass. But
based in Sydney, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit of YouTube before this, so I had like this trails and destinations channel. It was like a vlog, me just doing trails in Colorado, showing those off. And then I also had another gaming YouTube channel where we did like the punishment tube. Like anytime you would like lose, you'd go do push-ups, sit-ups, and like you punish yourself. And then your audience could also then punish you more. Be like, all right, here, we're gonna give you some.
It's kind of like us on the Cinco de Mayo stream drinking some of that Don Julio.
Yeah, people are super chatting us to keep drinking.
Oh man,
that was brutal.
But yeah, and so just kept growing from there. And I was confident that we could do something and do it better than a lot of the other Web3 influencers, especially in the gaming side. They were nothing compared to traditional gamers, and like in their content of education and their clarity and their energy. It was just, there was like kind of a dead open space for a content creator to come in and try to build a following. And so that's why I was like, okay, I think we can do it well there. But then we found quickly there was just no audience. This was really in the middle of the bear. No one was interested. So what we wanted to do is, well, why don't we learn how to actually do content, and we moved into Web 2, back to traditional gaming. So we launched 3 channels that one covered action games, one did RPG, and one did news. We got all 3 of those channels to partner in 6 months. 4 million views, and we really were focused on analytics. Every video, we break it down. We have like a specialized, role of, okay, we're looking at every step of our process. Let's see how to make good content, and that will hit consistently. And
That's right.
So of that content, like what have you been focusing on? Have you been more YouTube? Is it Twitter? Is it blogs? Like what have you been focusing with Polemos in terms of content, right?
So we've been solely focused on YouTube, because we're in specifically gaming. That's really where our main audience is, that we're going to try and bring from traditional gaming, or from the traditional side in general, and that's where you get the most retention for them, and the most loyalty. We're trying to build a loyal audience, and really the end strategy was, okay, we're gonna keep doing these Web 2 channels until a good Web 3 game comes out, and then we'll just try to like push them. We'll actually start showing that Web 3 content on them, just like it was another Web 2 game.
Right.
And then hopefully they're like, okay, yeah, this is cool. And then they'd be like, whoa, this is a crypto game. Why are you guys showing us a crypto game? And we're like, because it's actually fun, and the NFTs add value, and it's just a better experience. So.
And what have you seen in the space so far that's like kind of hit so far? Because we have like a very basic amount of games that are coming out, and like, they're like, the early versions. So like what like kind of good stuff has come out so far? Like what's the most impressive to you in the industry right now?
Yeah, so there's definitely a couple coming out, and a lot of them are still in development. And I am biased. I am on the council for Illuvium. I am still very bullish on the game overall. I think that there are definitely some features that need to be added to really bring it to the next level. But with the amount of runway they have, the IP, the graphics, and a lot of the gameplay elements, I really think they're going to be successful. It's just getting there. We just need some more time, and so that's one that I'm really excited for. Another one is Parallel. Parallel's been popping off on base, and I haven't even played it too much because I'm not a big card game player, but we are definitely researching it and following it. It's actually starting to draw large influencers from Hearthstone and bringing them in to this. Once again, as soon as you start getting streamers who literally stop streaming their Web 2 game in for a Web 3 game consistently, that's going to start bringing a lot of people over.
Right.
And so then we had Wildcard's another one that's being built really cool. That one is it's by the people who made Words with Friends. It's a Web 2, made a lot of money, and they're just they're fully dedicated to making a fun game. And so if you make it fun, you're going to draw people in, and then the crypto is just an added benefit. Gotcha.
And like I know like you also have like large studios coming out with stuff. I know Sonium, right, is one of the things that a lot of people are talking about.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were interested in it before.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to think of who backs like Sony, and then you've got also Oasis, these other more chains that have a lot of connections to traditional gaming studios, like mega studios. As soon as they're just kind of waiting to see what is the economy that actually works, is what I think they're waiting for, because there's so many economies that have gone either too inflationary, deflationary, and they just crash, and they're trying to see, okay, what are good tokenomics models, and then they're going to throw in their amazing IP in there, and it's just going to explode. Is really what I think is going to happen. Nice. But that's in any of the chains, because there's benefits to being on a whole bunch of different chains. So
right. So like, how do you sometimes distinguish, because like you're really in the kind of the deep end of the space, right? We're like Sonium, we know what it is, right? But like, I mean, we're in blockchains all the time, and we were talking, at permissionless, and you were telling me you're playing around in the ecosystem, you're checking out the meme coins, you're kind of checking out the best projects on there, and how do you know when to choose like this is something we think this could get very popular versus like. I think it could get popular, but it's a little more obscure.
Yeah, so if we're talking specifically with games,
Yeah.
I think in the crypto industry, we have to have a lot of player agency. The players have to be able to make a lot of decisions. Otherwise, and it needs to be in a strategic way. Otherwise, you can bot it heavily, and that is a huge problem. You set up these bot farms that just try to extract yield, and all that does is it just devalues the NFTs and then makes the whole economy really useless for everyone else who's in there. And if there are people who are just financially incentivized, they'll leave. They won't be interested, or they'll just stay till the airdrop is over and then they're gone. And you see that in a lot of developing countries that they come in and leave. So I'm looking for games that have a certain level of complexity that would actually make just a good gaming experience, along with not being botted as easily. Team is really important. You really got to check into the teams and what they've built before to see if they have the capabilities to build another game. And that's a lot of the research. And then really for me, it's just playtest. I don't trust anything until I playtest it. You see all these amazing cinematic trailers and they're just trash games when they come out.
Warcraft.
And I mean, like a lot of people are like, well, why is there still not a good game? If we look, even in the traditional gaming space, there's been some games that have been in development for 4 to 10 years from AAA studios like Bethesda and some of these others that launched last year and totally didn't meet the mark. So it shows that in crypto, we're starting with brand new studios that are just learning how to work together with new founders that may have never even developed a game before. It's going to be really difficult for them to actually make a game that feels like it's a regular traditional game. Right. And so we're just getting at that line where we're like 4 to 5 years where really people started raising funds for these games. Now they're starting to come through and we'll soon be done building them. And I think in the next year or two, we're going to see some really good games coming out and it's going to explode. Maybe earlier. I'm hoping earlier.
Do you think, in terms of there's games, some gaming companies, right? They make games just on browser, so a lot of people can play them. They can get a lot of volume going for their business, and then you got high quality games, like World of Warcraft and other stuff that GTA that takes billions of dollars and lots of time to build. Do you think all games in GameFi have to be that ultimate experience, or do you think there will actually be quite a lot of success on the lower end, simpler games as well?
Yeah, so that comes into your PC requirements or console requirements.
And everything's mobile these days. Right?
In mobile, I was just going on mobile. You have to think of what is your player base of if you make a top end, high end game, you're only going to be they need a 4000 series graphics card. Okay, you already cut out 90% of the market, if not more. So going for a browser game, anyone can pull up a browser game, anyone can go a mobile game. So those are they're nice because they draw in a lot of people, especially from developing countries where they don't have access to these nice rigs. So there's some huge benefits there, but I actually think that there needs to be something in the middle, and that's actually something that I've been thinking about on a game. If I were to make my own, it's right in the middle where you have your PC requirements are actually on the very low end, but you can make a good experience with it. Then you're getting a nice wide audience and adding all the financial side to it, then you're pulling it, because a lot of the developing countries only play for the financial reason. They'll literally work 16 hours a day grinding just to get it. They're not enjoying the game at that point. So they're just going to be doing that anyways, and if you have it low enough that they can still play, you attract them. But then you allow all these other gamers that are just looking for a fun game from the mid to high, or any of really, they'll be able to come in and play. And I think that's where there might be a really good sweet spot in the middle, but I'm also still really confident in a really supreme AAA game coming out and just totally taking over the industry.
Right. And this is kind of what we talked on the fireside chat, kind of like a 0 to 1 moment would be like GTA. I mean, Off the Grid's kind of doing that right now a little bit, but I want to see if it has the follow through to keep it going. Yeah. Right? Because it's gotten a lot of initial hype right now, but I know GTA 6 is going to be the behemoth, basically, right? Because there's been talks for a long time that it's actually it's like a closed circuit cryptocurrency, basically, but if that is true, it's just slowly creeping towards that point where everyone's kind of figuring out. Because what I said during the fire chat that was that one interesting thing that happened with AI is AI in crypto didn't pop off until we had a huge amount of investment from VCs in AI tech. which is basic. And then when that happened over there in the macro market, it affected crypto when we had all these kind of, like, most of these were kind of like meme, AI coins, but some were actually really like Fetch AI, Render. There's some real Tau. There's some real players there in the AI space. So I would imagine that that's sort of the same thing that could happen, where like that takes off. Everyone just starts talking about crypto in coins, and then people start figuring like, holy crap, I can extract this, because I saw people on Twitter talking about off the grid, like, this doesn't feel like a crypto game. Dudes, and they're like hypothesizing, well, I could just extract, I could take this gun I just got right now, move it over here. Oh my God.
They're finally they're realizing what this could be, how powerful it could be, and some of them are still trying to rationalize that it's not crypto is how they're trying to do it, but it's gonna come. I mean, it was even a clip by Ninja, and it might be fake. He might have faked it, but like literally, he finished his stream. He did a 5-hour stream, and he was like, "This was like the best 5-hour stream I've done in like weeks, and this was an ad." And if he's actually meaning that, and it's a crypto game that he's covering on that, that's huge. That's really huge. And you have all the other ones like Dr. Disrespect and a lot of they're all diving in, and I think there's a good chance.
He has his own game, doesn't he, as well? Like?
He does.
Yeah.
Dead Drop.
Yeah, that was one.
Yeah, it's another extraction shooter. That has potential too, but he actually got removed from that game. So
really?
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah. So because of all the other
drama.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
You were talking about it on a different interview. You don't want drama when you're an influencer or a content creator. You avoid it like the plague. And unfortunately, you still get tied up every now and then.
You still get tied in it. And that's the hard part too. Is like, well, at that level, not to like take the whole conversation off a rail, but it's just like, there's a point where like, I mean, everyone's a fan, right? And you have to know how like. Someone got. I remember seeing like an interview where like, why do you always do this like in the interviews? Because people know I'm taking a fan picture, I'm just taking a picture with a bunch of girls.
Right.
And that's really you essentially gotta treat everybody outside of like, you're off work now. That's a personal thing versus using your influence to like push something along. But I mean this space is really going to transform over the years. One thing that has disheartened me a little bit is how much regular gamers are trying. It's almost like they've taken the blue pill in a way, and that sort of thing, where like they don't like it. We're in a capitalist society, right? Everything we have is because of capitalism, right? And crypto is like the most libertarian thing. Like we were unleashing this economic energy because it's economic energy that the company didn't monetize and just didn't let you take, and now. All this time and effort and energy, because like everything that is value is what we give it, right? If I grinded on World of Warcraft 10,000 hours to get this holy sword, right? I have it, and then I don't play anymore. It's worthless, right? Yeah, and this, if this could be transferred out, or some other player would want to buy it from me, they would be like, so what's the calculus here? Maybe like. I don't know, like not minimum wage, but let's say like if it cost me 10,000 hours, maybe I could sell it for $3,000 of 3,000 hours of minimum wage, or whatever the math someone's doing for that, or how difficult. Like, oh no, this was 10,000 hours, and I had to beat a big tournament and a raid. This is one of one, and it's powerful. This is an economic force within the game. It's sort of like a tier 5 land, like the tier 5 land sale for the Illuvium. It's like whoever owns this arena this is a lot of money. This is powerful. Like this is sort of like EVE Online. I'm dorking out. Sorry.
No, this is what we want, right?
But like when EVE Online, when people like pay for these mega galactic ships and stuff that really cost like a couple $100,000 to create of real world money, to have a ship where they could possibly change some of the monopolies on resources, which is insane. By the way, that game is insane.
Well, and that's actually where I got the guild idea. Was you had guilds in EVE Online where they were paying literally like full companies, like 30 people, to just build that stuff. And they were dishing it out. Like some millionaires just like, I want to have the best fucking ship in EVE Online. Let's get it in. And they dump. Yeah, it's crazy.
The EVE Online stuff. So like, I don't know if you guys ever checked it out. It's kind of what earlier you said a game. It was like it was Illuvium first, and it was another game.
You have
Parallel?
Wild card?
No,
Parallel?
no. From back in the day, from like 2021, like we
Axie Infinity.
No. After Axie Infinity, it was like
Star Atlas.
Star Atlas.
Yes, it was supposed to be the EVE Online of the future, you know?
Right, and it's just, but I mean, but it took EVE Online so long, and also it's kind of it had a bit of a moat as well, you know, like it's very difficult, and the kind of joke with EVE Online is like it's the only place where you literally clock out of work to go clock into another job. Like guys literally, all they do is like, yeah, they literally have businesses within the thing where like, yeah, I'm a 1099 contractor, and what we do is like we have space dump trucks where I just take resources and travel them here to there and stuff, and that's what we do. I just clocked in 8 hours. Like it's like a trucker that ends up going home to then go in the truck simulator to do an 8-hour shift again. Right. That's how crazy it is. But knowing how crazy humans are and how we are, that's power, because whatever a certain group of people, ascribe value, or like this has scarcity, that's money.
Yeah. And if you look at it back on CS:GO, literally a skin that has no utility in the game has sold for over $1 million. Like, and now you have an asset that actually makes you like a god at this game. That's going to be worth so much more if like the player base is huge and this game is actually exploding. Like you're gonna have like these big whales that are like, okay, I want to come in, I want to win this, and I'm just gonna scoop up everything. And I'm just gonna have like this ultimate god team.
Well, and like part of that game that's gonna be interesting in terms of like the whole ecosystem of stuff is like, okay, what stuff is hot now that everybody in social media is overhyping? I'm gonna sell the out of that because I don't think this game is gonna be long term. But this game over here, right, might be something that everybody's going to play for like 10 years. So, like you said, the scarcity is important, but also like the success of the game. And one thing that would be interesting is like maybe there's like an asset from one game. The game itself died, but the asset still lived on in other games. That'd be kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, the interoperability a little bit. Yeah. And it'd be interesting to also like I don't know if Polemos is going to do this, but kind of maybe brokering the deals at some point. Kind of like you guys have kind of signed them to like not digital rights in this way, but more to like interoperability rights, where like
I mean, there's definitely potentially an agency that could be formed. Really anywhere they could do that, and it's probably needed. Now I'm pretty sure that any of the good crypto games are in contact with each other.
Right.
Honestly, I think in a different interview you guys were talking about, do we want to fight together? Like does Illuvium think of the X game as their competitor or not? I'm pretty sure that mindset of any competition is gone. And we're just now the rising tide raises all ships.
Right.
It really is.
Until the peak of the market.
Then burn everyone.
Die.
Burn the ships.
I was actually talking to Aaron, the CEO of Futureverse, about that. He was like, no, I just want to work with everyone. He really does. I think that he really wants to let his technology just explode.
I was about to say his tech stack's insane.
It's crazy what they're building.
We were playing with Parzival.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you get good IPs like Warner Bros. and like, we're just so close, and that's why I know you guys say, oh, you got to hold Bitcoin and ETH and stuff. I'm that degen that's only got alt GameFi coins, and I'm like all in like.
But you'd be surprised. But every person we've said this in courses before, right? In the crypto mindset courses, we had guys who were GameFi only last cycle, NFT only,
right?
Meme coin only. More balanced portfolio only. Everyone who was that concentrated and was focused in won.
Right.
Everybody won.
And then it's a matter of during the downtime, can you diversify into other skill sets?
Correct. Yeah, because cycle changes. But when let's just say you are focused,
but it does come back too.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Because I think like NFTs, right? Like the NFT technology is it's fully in effect right now in GameFi. It's working.
Now it's just utilization.
It's just utilization. But the actual NFT side is pretty. It's pretty in the right now until Ethereum hits a certain level, like because basically, so we had like a couple. So back in 2017, we had a little bit of NFTs, right? We had Crypto Kitties, we had the Punks, and I think maybe Rocks, ETH Rocks, right? And that's really all we had in 2017, and that really didn't get famous until like Ethereum was like $800, right? $1,400, boom, top crash. Then we had, shout out to Anorak, guy made a lot of money from NFTs and stuff and gaming and stuff. He was kind of a gaming NFT guy, and I still work with him. And, he basically it all crashed. he saw the NFT side starting to come out, but it didn't really like it was all kind of just bullshit until this one game, which was Decentraland. Decentraland had a coin. The coin, didn't really do much at the time, but they did something very revolutionary. They were the first ever game to launch a land sale. Yeah. Which was that's how I learned about like land sale. Right. And they're always profitable. My God, always profitable. They're always profitable.
If you sell at the right time.
Yes. Yeah. Keyword.
And this is not financial advice, all that stuff, but oh my gosh. I'm still holding my Illuvium land, and
I'm holding Illuvium too, man. Oof. I got screwed out of a mega city, and then that pissed me so off. Like I was like cracked out, eyes red, bloody, trying to get this land, and then basically one of our buddies pissed off a whale and sniped one of his lands, and he went in and just took our land. And at that point, I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna keep these lands enough to play the game. I sold everything off, because that's the whole game when that launched. Everyone was just trying to get their mega city, like this ultra city, right? But
well, in my guild, that was when I was running my guild.
Right.
We had like literally spreadsheets and spreadsheets laid out, and we scooped up so many mega cities. Yeah. Like we were ready for that. So. Unfortunately, they'll come back once that game gets some improvements. But
so obviously, like one thing, like we always say to our guys, Bitcoin and Ethereum are the thermometer of like how high. Like I don't want to say glass. I don't want to say glass ceiling, but basically in a way,
basically is the steering wheel of the crypto space, right?
Right.
Like, if they're not doing well, nothing else is. But if they're doing great, like all of a sudden, the economic activity goes into other stuff.
So there is NFTs on Bitcoin. They do exist. The thing is
Bitcoiners love them, I hear.
Yeah. But they love the barcodes on the girls. That's what the Bitcoiners like, right? But the NFT space really exploded on Ethereum, right? And with all the L1s, all the L2s, all the copycat chains, and then even the copycat chains, like as an example, the competitor chains, Cardano, Solana, stuff like that, that aren't based off the code of Ethereum, right? That their own code. Are there still bridges to Ethereum, EVMs essentially, right? Pulse Chain, Phantom, and that. So the thing that's kind of been holding the thing back is that Ethereum's been, this always happens every cycle, is Ethereum kind of lags behind Bitcoin. So Bitcoin up front, had the Bitcoin ETF happen in early January, had the Bitcoin halving that happened a little bit later, and then we had the Ethereum ETF, right? And the thing is like. Do you remember what month the Ethereum ETF was?
That was like June, July, something like that.
Yeah, so it was kind of after the hype. We got hyped up. Ethereum without the ETF, hit $4,000. We started seeing it. Oh, look, the NFT side, everything started to bubble a little bit, and then it calmed down. So we've had this. So I had this theory where like, all right, so in 2017, $1,400. Right, $1,400 was the top of Ethereum. Right, when me, Anorak, Charlie started noticing NFTs coming back, was really when Ethereum passed it was like $1,800, $2,100. So something like it was almost like
psychological like support resistance levels, basically.
Right, like we made back the money in the all-time, made back the money on Ethereum. And now it's even 50% higher. So now these people who bought the lows or like decent levels are like, wow, I'm in multiples on this money.
Yep.
Now that I have like a certain dollar amount, whatever it is in their head, I'm gonna start spreading around, taking risk on, and this is what allows like that sector. So I believe
it's coming.
It's coming, right? So in 21 we had Ethereum get to $4,800, right? Yeah. So I would imagine $6,000 or $7,000 Ethereum is when. Yeah, that it turns on, and then it leads into
Ethereum can't get to a new all-time high. It's
dead. That's right.
It's going nowhere, right?
Yeah, and like I wish I didn't have to but this is the beautiful thing is that like people then give us a shot because we can't escape the economics, and this is kind of like where I said earlier in the stream where like I wish this wasn't the blue pill part of it. We're capitalist society, but a lot of people in crypto, even though we're supposed to be cyberpunks, libertarians, how dare you make money?
Yeah.
Right. And I see that a lot.
They're against capitalism in a sense.
It's really strange. Yeah. It's like, why are you selling anything? Everything you're wearing is somebody sold it to you.
Yeah.
Everything I'm wearing, this iPhone, this thing, this microphone, everything in here was purchased, basically, right? Someone spent the time and energy to create that or manufacture it. And if we didn't have the systems in place, then would we live up? I mean, we'd be in the grasslands.
Yeah.
Like there'd be nothing, basically. Yeah. Obviously, the caffeine has hit me.
You saw him change like halfway through that. He was ready to go.
Yeah, Hulkamania running wild. That's right. Yeah. But I get really excited about this stuff because it's like I like to nerd out on all this because it's everything. It's NFTs, it's DeFi, but it's GameFi, and gaming is so powerful. Like I've loved games my whole life, and we all love games.
Yeah.
You know, it's something from like it doesn't matter from tic-tac-toe to like freeze tag. It's just something innate in us, and you know, even in military, there's like those war games,
Right.
You know,
and we kind of feel like this space, like to us, it's kind of obvious that this space is going to take off. It's going to do well. Like this is a part of gaming that's going to kind of stick around for a very long time, but it's just not obvious to everybody else yet. So it's kind of cool to see everybody in here, being like, okay, we're on the forefront. We're watching this, get big, and then if you invest early, basically you can make a lot of money.
You can.
How old are you?
How old do you think I am?
47. I don't know. 30.
29.
29.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
Right there.
So you're 20. I mean, that's a great spot because like you're young enough to understand kind of like the trends that are coming up, which is really good because
I hope so.
No, I mean I think so. Tell me, you've done a great job. Like because right now like everything we're talking about is. I'm not trying to toot our own horns or anything. Like it's a revolution. Like when you, because me and Charlie have done this like we've done a couple of cycles now, where like some of the stuff we're joking around with our friends or saying on a podcast with nobody watching. You listen back, you're like, whoa, dude, we were really right.
Well, it's kind of like the internet in the early days. I think Mark Cuban was like going to do like sports streaming. Right, in like 1995.
Broadcast.com.
Yeah, I forgot the name.
Broadcast.com.
Like yeah. And so it's like you come that early, but tech's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But if you can recognize that trend, right, then you can still build towards it. So it's like using what you have available now, but then like understanding where you're going. And a lot of people just can't see that far ahead. Yeah. So like, yeah.
And that was pretty cool what he did. I mean, he basically put radio on the internet for the first time ever, and then he actually live streamed a sports event on the internet. Which is streaming.
Yeah.
I think we got exciting times ahead of us. That's all I know. And I'm super excited for what we're able to build at Polemos. So I think we're...
So last question. A year from now, where do you see yourself in terms of your skill set building in Polemos? And then where do you see Polemos around that time?
Yep. So I'm moving more to actually trying to train up other producers to do content at the same quality as me. And then once we start getting multiple of those, because there's too many games. Already I can only focus on 1 or 2 games at a time. You got to put in 50 to 200 hours to really understand that game at any level. And a lot of times they're trash, like private betas, and you're like, you have to try and really forecast, will this work? And then also, we make partnerships with games for various reasons, but the main thing we're trying to evaluate is, are your NFTs going to have value that would be good for renting and leasing? And if you don't have that, you're not as interesting to us generally, but we definitely have marketing partnerships and stuff like that with many games. So I'm trying to evaluate that, but I want to train other people to do that part too. And then we should have be able to cover the entire ecosystem, because there's a lot of games coming out, and then hopefully we have a real clear understanding of this is the winners, and we're gonna make sure we integrate with them first, and then we'll go down the line of integrating as many as we can. Because
I'm really happy that we're getting to the age where like people are putting real effort into these games, or they're actual like games. Where like we were kind of for a while there. I'm not knocking. I mean, we all have to start somewhere in the gaming industry, but it was kind of almost just like mobile. I mean, it was kind of website flash games in a way where like it was just like
games from 2000s pixel. I don't know.
Yeah, like it was Newgrounds, like Flappy Birds. At least Candy Crush would have been decent, maybe. Yeah, right. You'd have all the suburban moms in it.
Yeah, once you get all the moms using GameFi, right? It's like back in the 1990s when you had all the mothers basically getting like 20 emails.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, mass adoption's here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but that's where the money's at, honestly. If you get all the suburban moms, you're paid for a life.
No,
seriously.
Shout
out Martha Stewart.
I think that was the main demographic that Fortnite targeted for a while. You could
suburban moms.
Yeah, they went.
What?
They went for the moms, because then they'd show this cool game, and the mom's like, okay, I'll put that on my kid so that they don't bother me anymore. It was like their babysitter.
Right.
That's It was a genius. At least I'm pretty sure it was Fortnite. It was definitely one of those kids games. Maybe it was Roblox. It might have actually been Roblox.
Oh, it was Roblox probably. Yeah.
But either way, they targeted them. They're like, put this in front of your kid. They'll be gone forever. And then you're dropping V-Bucks or whatever the currency is in Roblox. Yeah.
It's probably all the above, really. But yeah, Roblox, because Roblox is a little bit more of a younger demographic. But I could see all of it. Like, I mean, that's what parents, I mean, it's like...
It's sad. It's sad to see, honestly.
I mean, there's iPad. I mean, they call them iPad kids.
Yeah.
You know, it's all that stuff. So, but the iPad. But here, because I've talked earlier in a different interview. I'm not sure which one where it's going to come out, but like I talked about it. Like I just had a son, right? So it's kind of this whole thing is like, when do we? Right. when because obviously they're going to see me on this because I do a lot. I do all the time, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So he's like, yes. but when do you? But like there's that part of it, right? And then there's a social. Then on top of that, okay, there's the games and whatever you can play on them.
Social media aspect.
Then there's a social media side.
There's also the intelligence. If you don't do that early enough, you're going to be like a boomer compared to your classmates.
That's exactly my.
Well,
dude. That's exactly where I was going.
Back in the day, right? Like in the late 90s, early 2000s, everybody was like, man, all these kids that are like developers playing these games and stuff, like they're wasting their time. The shit's going nowhere. Print media is where it's at, And you look at those kids 10 to 15 years later, they're developing these things. They're building this stuff. They're engineers, right? So there is that aspect of like
they're losers.
Yeah, right.
Like,
with all the money.
And that's really where it comes down to what is the game they're playing. There are great games that actually build your child's intelligence, the way that they think. Like the games can be great puzzles for unlocking
like leapfrog sort of things, like stuff like that, or
like games that were more like I was playing pretty complex JRPGs when I was like 5. I've been playing since I was 5, and like I learned like map awareness, and I learned general like basic coding through playing video games. And if you can incorporate,
I think Elon Musk even said the same thing about himself. He
really
learned programming through video games.
Okay, yeah. And there's so many benefits if you can learn how to do it properly. Like a lot of times it just comes down to dexterity. Like they could already be working your phone if they knew how to work their fingers. The brain is so smart at that age. But we're going off topic. I don't know.
No, but this is on topic.
Yeah.
Actually.
Okay. I mean,
because it's like I'm just saying I'm a really good shot because I played Duck Hunt when I was. That was a really fun game. I gotta lie.
That was a great game.
Think about how that game was so revolutionary.
I mean,
at the time.
Deer Hunter as well.
Cabela's had so many good games back in the day.
The old
Deer Hunter.
the old hunters and stuff. But just like choo. Or the old Power Glove, right? The Power Glove that was before my time, but like the Power Glove and stuff. Yeah.
Time Crisis. You guys ever play Time Crisis?
Yeah. Where you have to push the little lever.
Yep. And then you duck undercover. That was so immersive. See, and the NFTs can make games feel more immersive too. And if you,
Futureverse has that going right in that direction, right?
Yeah. And that's something that I'm really impressed with, like that they were able to solidify those partnerships. Warner Brothers, obviously the creator of Ready Player One, Ready Player Two coming soon.
Hey,
I've heard whispers.
I think there's a few people that might be interested in that.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could, I'd do that Neuralink full dive, take my consciousness into a game. Bye, everyone. I'm
Isekai.
I actually believe I'm one of those
manhwas.
I'm one of those conspiracy theorists that think that we're just in a game, and it's an NFT game, and it's crypto, and like you bought this body, and if you don't use it right, if you're not trying to do well in life, you're wasting it. Yeah, and so true. You got to do something with it.
Yep, I bought this. Why am I? I should be 6'6". What the f***? What up?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's where it's going.
So. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much.
Hey, it was an
good
honor.
speaking with you again.
So awesome. Hopefully we can do this again. And thanks again, guys.
Beautiful.
Sweet.